This episode of XNA Roundup is sponsored by Blazing Birds, an over-the-top game of robotic badminton, now available on Xbox Live Arcade.
Hey folks, welcome back to the XNA Roundup Show. This is episode number 20, and I'm your host, Nick the Dude. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Here at XNA Roundup headquarters, we find the best games on the Xbox Live Community Games section and give you the rundown on what's worth playing each and every week. Support this show by subscribing via iTunes or YouTube. You can also link or embed our show on your blog, Twitter, or Facebook page. Another great way to support XNA Roundup is by supporting our sponsors. This week's episode is sponsored by Blazing Birds, an over-the-top game of robotic badminton, now available on Xbox Live Arcade. Stay tuned after the reviews to see the trailer. It looks awesome. So this week, in the spirit of Lost, we're traveling back in time to review a few of the best early community games. First up, we shoot our way deep into the seedy alien underbelly of Weapon of Choice. After that, we get our mellow on with the physics puzzler Blow. And finally, we look at the highly polished vertical platform ragdoll game, Carneyvale Showtime. Let's head right into the reviews. We will see you on the other side.
When you first launch Weapon of Choice, you're struck by the organic, colorful art style that is quite literally otherworldly. Weapon of Choice somehow manages to present a do-it-yourself feeling, while at the same time maintain a big-budget game mentality. At first glance, the game looks to be a standard shooter, but there are some interesting things going on here. The control scheme itself is a dual stick setup for movement and aiming/firing, with the left trigger as jump and the right trigger for an alt fire while shooting. You're able to use an automatically engaging spider pack that allows your character to move along ceilings and walls while keeping your hands free to kill aliens. The boldest addition here is the inclusion of a death brushing mechanic that slows down time around you as you're taking damage from an enemy. The story is just okay, but what's nice is you actually have some choices to make that affect how the game plays out. There are 4 different endings that can occur depending on decisions you make along the way. My biggest problem with the game was the lack of a continue option. Each time you exhaust your lives, you're forced to start from the very beginning, which is a little old school even for me. Your lives are also set up a little differently as well. You choose your character or operative at the start of the game, and if the character dies, you're forced to replace him with another character. You can, however, save a downed operative by throwing them on your back and dragging them to the next stage. While I like the concept on paper, ultimately I just wanted to use the character I liked best, instead of being forced to use ones I didn't care for as much. If the characters were all very similar, it would be different, but they each have totally different weapons and special abilities, which is rad, but also frustrating if you really find your groove with a certain operative. Weapon of Choice also has some of the coolest bosses I've seen in a long while. I love how Weapon of Choice came together. It's a great single player experience and really has created a unique feel in the genre littered with clones. If you can make it past the somewhat excruciating tutorial Blow starts with, you will find an amazingly satisfying and enjoyable puzzle game that offers many hours of playtime, and some good clean fun for the whole family. Your goal in Blow is to manipulate the trajectory and path of a steady stream of bubbles from point A to point B, with a stop or two in between. The main way you accomplish this is by positioning fans along each board's environment that blow the bubble in the desired direction. Seems like a simple concept, and it is to start, but once Blow ramps up and starts including additional mechanics and larger and more complex boards, you'll be scratching your head trying to find a solution to each puzzle. I thought one of the most interesting added mechanics was that of heat and cold, which you can dial into every fan you place. Adding hot air makes bubbles rise, while cool air makes the bubbles drop. It's not simply just hot or cold either. There are 11 different temperature settings for each fan you place. You're also limited in your resources, in that you have X amount of gold coins per board, and each fan costs a certain amount to place, depending on how powerful the fan is. Once you have laid out all your fans and you've gotten some of your bubbles to the exit, you then release the king bubble, which ends the board when it makes it through your labyrinth of fans and into the exit. Some of the later boards introduce weather, including wind and heat, as well as some quasi-gravitational effects in certain areas of a board. The main mode has 70 levels, and there's an adventure mode that will create procedurally generated levels, which in general are hella hardcore. If you like puzzle games, Blow is a must-see. 400 points for such a vast game is really an amazing deal. Carneyvale Showtime puts an interesting twist on the platformer genre. Instead of controlling the character, you control the platforms. Okay, actually you do have a little bit of control over your ragdoll character, Slinky the Acrobat, but mostly it's about timing the gripper spinner things to let Slinky go at the right moment, so you can hit the next gripper and eventually make it through the ring of fire at the top of each board. On your way to the ring of fire, you'll also need to collect balloons. The more you collect, the more points you get, and the more points you get, the better each acrobatic performance is considered by your fans. As you make your way through Carneyvale, you're given a little more control over Slinky. You also begin to encounter new types of platforms that transport you through the air in different ways. With Slinky, you gain access to more deliberate motion, such as a left and right dash while in mid-air, which the game quickly incorporates into the game's puzzle-solving aspects. Platform-wise, the developers have added things like grabber rockets that you control, accelerator chutes, and on the more dangerous side of that, you're forced to deal with electrified blocks and swinging chutes of fire, both of which will take a life from you if touched. As far as art style and production polish, Carneyvale Showtime has to be near the very top of the heap in the community game section. Carneyvale's core value is the visceral satisfaction of spinning and tossing Slinky into the air, then catching him and doing it all over again. It's the rare game that could equally entertain a 4-year-old or a 40-year-old with its immense charm and accessible play.
Alright folks, that's our show for this week. Thanks a lot for tuning in. You can get show updates at twitter.com/XNA Roundup, and you can email questions, comments, or suggestions to xnaroundup@gmail.com. So thanks a lot, and we'll see you next week. But before we head out, let's check out the trailer for Blazing Birds. Enjoy.
Sure.